Hey folks, LTZ here. In my last video, I covered do's and don'ts for attending an indoor witchy or pagan event. And in this video, I want to dive a little bit deeper. So be sure to watch that other one first so you have the basics, especially if you haven't attended an indoor convention before of any kind, or particularly a witch and pagan one, because there are some things that are a little bit different. And then say your standard work convention or a cosplay convention, etc. But this one here, this is some of the things I do that are just a little bit extra witchy that benefit the experience. So the first thing that I do is once I get into my hotel room, and typically you're going to be in there for 2, 3, 4 nights, is I set up sacred space. I set up a little bit of an altar space, and I do that right where the TV is because I don't watch TV while I'm at an event, and especially just regular TV. I tend to stream very specific things, and that's it for me. So here's this big space that isn't prominent in my daily life, and I don't really want to have a huge amount of prominence in my very special time for this weekend. So I often cover the TV with a veil or a scarf or a shawl. So something like this doesn't take up a lot of space in my luggage. It might be a scarf, something that I might be wearing throughout the weekend, or again, it just doesn't weigh a lot. It's easy to pack. So whatever your accoutrements are, some people bring tapestries and such, but there's a difference if you're flying in versus if you are driving in, like how much space that you might have. But one of these covers most large screen TVs. So immediately I've taken this big electronic nuisance out of my life. If you're like, no, I have to watch TV like every moment and have it on in the background, this is obviously not for you. Have fun. But for those of you who are like, you're talking my language. All right, so scarf, shawl, veil, thin tapestry, something light, easy. Maybe it has tassels in it, fringe, right? Just you throw that on there, and you can either throw it over rectangularly, or what I tend to do is go more on the diagonal. Right? Doesn't do the full coverage, but it does more of a dynamic pull down to the center. And then in front of that, I might have things that travel with me to kind of set up a space. So here are some examples of things you can think about that you might do. So if you are someone who has a devotional practice to a particular deity, you might have a small, tiny, these little statues are great, right? This is one of Hecate. Get the camera to focus. I also have little ones on wood, little wooden icons that are also very easy to pack. So something like this I wouldn't fly with because I'd worry about getting it broken. But if I'm driving somewhere, I could put her in a package, a little box, something like that. And that's a great way. So like you could have a little box that's ready to go every time that is specifically your travel altar. So it might have an icon or a picture in there. Next thing I'm going to have is a electric tea light. Don't bring live candles. Don't be the asshole who causes the smoke alarm, the fire alarm to go off at 5 a.m. Everyone will hate you. And it's a hazard. So electric tea light, perfect. All right, there are many little varieties of those. So one of those. Instead of incense, again, some hotels have very sensitive smoke sensors. This also depends on the type of incense you're using. So I'd skip incense and go for something that is a mist, right? A tincture. This is one of the Veiled Crow. Again, if it's probably not going to come into focus. Veiled Crow Magical Mist, which they have a variety of different ones for all sorts of purposes. This one is actually one of their special seasonal ones. It's Comfort and Joy. They do it around Yule, and I just love the smell of it. So that is often a way for me to kind of set that space, because most hotel rooms tend to have some sort of odor Unfortunately, most recently, one of the ones we stayed at had a really strong fake floral smell to kind of cover things up. And, you know, adding more smells to it could not work, or, you know, if I'm really thinking about risking it and can open the window, then I might do a little bit of the Velcro incense. That's just a quick little burn because it doesn't produce a lot of smoke, and I can just burn a very small amount of it without a charcoal. Just poof, blow it out, walk it around the room, stay away from the smoke detector, and that can change that for a bit. And sets the mood for this space. So you can have an icon, you can have a little candle. This is also where I tend to store my badge and my room key in this space when I'm done every day. So I can grab that. It's also where I put my jewelry at night, in that little bit of dedicated space. And any other weird things that I've started to acquire during the event, or on my way to the event, such as I got this at a Cracker Barrel last summer on the way to Mystic South. This slug. This is my big gay slug. I love this slug. I understand. I think it was Enfys. Enfys was you had the one with the light up eyes, which also even more amazing. I love these ridiculous things. They make me smile. I also had a glittery snake last summer, a little tiny snake that was glittery, not a live one. So just something, usually some sort of animal-esque type of thing that gets added. But sometimes there are tokens and things that people give me that are special that I collect throughout the event, and those go on the altar. So they just sort of become part of the experience. So setting up your altar, cloth, some sort of spray, an electric candle, icon, picture, etc. So that was the first thing that sets up my space. I'm also one of those people who tends to unpack if I'm going to be there for more than 2 nights, so that I know where my things are and I kind of set the space. So that really makes me feel a little bit more settled where I am and welcoming into the space. Some people do additional cleansing and protections. So they might do some salt cleansing, some different types of tinctures. They might set up protections in the room using coins or crystals or rocks. It depends on your practice. So you can go all out, or you can keep it pretty simple. And most of the time I find that keeping it simple works well enough for me and my practice. So your altar space in your room, boom, first thing. Other things. So I mentioned about classes and the schedule and such. One thing I find is really helpful is to bring a dedicated book that you're going to take notes in. Because often what happens is you get there and you've got scraps of paper, and then you try to find those later where your notes. If you do have a dedicated little book, then you can keep all your wisdom in one place. And this is my special little travel book. It's getting there. I can put printouts in here, so you'll find, I think this is just kind of fun little things in here. Oh, this is from Newt's, The Lover's Spread Layers from Mary K. Greer. So I tuck those notes in there. I think I have some things in here from Evo. So those little things, little stickers, stuff that happens, that all gets tucked into my little booklet here that travels with me. And once this is filled, I will go to a new booklet. So that way you have a consistent place, maybe your favorite pen, right, that goes together, that travels with you. So, you know, you're adding to your collective wisdom experience. So we've got that. Oh, my book was hiding this. A lot of people I know also do little tiny travel altars. Like this is about the size of Sucrets. This also happens to have Ganesh in it. Mine, this is not a travel altar, but I just grabbed it as an example of tiny little altars that you can just do and sort of prop open, and maybe you've put some images in there, and you might have little stones, rocks, words, whatever, herbs, things you want right in there. So that's really easy to travel with. It's nice and small. I would go, if you do want to keep something like an electric tea light in there, obviously we go for something that's a little bit bigger. So you can keep an eye out for maybe a small little wooden box or a little tiny metal box that you can travel with. So we'll sidetrack back to there. So you have a book that you're bringing with you. I also recommend bring a deck. Right? You can do a daily spread at the beginning or end of your day. It can also help you make decisions if you're having difficulty of which things should I go to. Some classes you might need to have an oracle deck or a tarot deck or your rune set, whatever is your preferred divination method, bringing a deck with you. And this is a full-size deck with my little cloth in here. I like that for traveling. You can also, these boxes over time do not travel quite as well. So I do caution, like if you've got a nice box, change it up for travel into a little bag and wrap it up with some fabric so you've got that. There's of course travel sized oracles and tarot decks like the mini Rider-Waite-Smith and other little versions that Llewellyn and US Games have done of their decks. I would really love if there was a travel size of the Anatomy of Witch or Liminal Spirits Oracle. Wouldn't you? Tell Llewellyn. Small, easy, right? Something quick that you can travel with. Those cards are big. So having a deck on hand, because you might need it for a class or a workshop, and you might need it for your own personal practice. And it's a really great way to start or end the days by doing a little bit of shuffling and pulling a card. And you can put that card on the altar. Right? There you go. So it starts to add to your experience there. Other things to keep in mind. I mentioned this in the comments of the other is, this is not particularly witchy, but this is part of my sanity, is I do tend to bring a stuffy of some sort, or if you see, actually right behind my head there. It's fine, I'm good with directions. All of those little things that you see there, for the most part, are little stuffies that I have acquired on the road, because usually when I'm dealing with lots of people, I need something. So this goes into comfort and taking care of yourself. So when you are going to a witchy or pagan event, there's got to be a lot. It's a lot. All right? It's not just the people, it's the workshops, it's the classes, it's all of the things, and gods and spirits and lots of different things happening. So you need to take care of yourself, which is why the altar is kind of the first thing, right? You set up a place where you can focus, set up your protection, set up your connection to deity or spirit, ancestors if you want to bring them with you, if they travel well. That is kind of your first line of defense to keeping yourself whole. But it might be that you're going to need to retire back to your room to hydrate, to maybe have a little bit of dark chocolate or protein, something to get yourself back into your body and to just rest. Because if you're doing lots of rituals, if you're doing lots of workshops, you're meeting people, it is going to be taxing on you, and you're going to be even picking things up, which so also why, I also have my little evil eye bracelets that I'm always wearing too. So that's on the body, other protections. So make sure you have those packed with you. Things that might be part of your daily wear, bring it with you, or something extra or special for those protections. And taking that time when you need to go back to your room or find some other space on the campus that you find beautiful, calming, whatever you need to re-energize, that is important. Like if you start feeling yourself like at the point where you're already vibrating, you have gone past the point that is the easy pullback, right? So you do want to practice that type of self-care. Personally, what I do for a lot of events, especially when I'm presenting and doing ritual and performing, is I make time to take a bath or a shower that has some other additional witchy elements worked into it so that I can be calm, I can be attentive to my body, I can relax a bit, and I'm also cleansing myself as I'm cleaning myself. So making room and space for that, right, outside of even just hygiene, right, it's really important for the body. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Also, many events tend to have healing services available. So you might have readers, you might have people doing massage, Reiki, other alignments or adjustments. I'm not going to make any judgment on any of those things and whether or not you should do them. But often at events, you might have some really awesome people there who are offering their services and insight and inspiration. So don't forget, because they're usually not in the vending room. I know Paganicon, the healer room, is a separate one and a few other events, like, because you want the quiet, right? If you're going to have a reading done, you don't want to be in a busy vendor hall. So look for those spaces too, check the hours for those. So if you are looking for a little bit insight or are confused about something, you could get a reading, right? You can get a treatment if that is something that interests you. Also, a lot of events, this is why it's important I mentioned about attending the opening ritual, is some events set up particular people who are go-to individuals for when you are feeling overloaded, stressed, etc., to check in spiritually, right? To be there as a spiritual, I want to say goalpost, a guide, a moment of peace and serenity, someone to kind of check in with you. So being aware of who those people are and where they're going to be at, so that you can, if you need to, you can talk to them and get yourself back into a bit of a space. So that is something important. I have my little list here. So now I think we covered kind of the main things of what's important in there. Oh, so I mentioned this a bit in the last one too, about reading the program and seeing what's important. Because some descriptions of particularly rituals will say you need to bring, you need to wear all white or all black, or you need to bring a cloth, or please bring an ancestor picture for the altar, right? So it's important to have those things prepared so that you're not missing out in the experience. In some situations, people have extras, like if, pens and papers and things like that, but you might need a deck. You might need to prepare that in advance. So this is why you want to check out before, especially if you're traveling somewhere where you're not coming from home every day, so that you do that. And I think it does help a lot if you are going to attend a ritual to do something to your appearance, how you dress, or how maybe you're applying an oil to yourself that day. Also, side note, don't drench yourself in perfume. A lot of people have sensitivities to oils and such. The things I use are very, very mild, very small points that aren't like spraying myself. Even with this, right? It stays in my room. I'm not going to be spraying this around my booth, right? Things like that. So, consider these are special moments. It's not just a spectator sport to go to a ritual. It's something that you are hopefully part of the process and the experience. So taking a little bit extra time with how you dress or prepare yourself for that ritual is going to take it to the next level. And then remember practicing self-care, hydrating, making sure you're eating properly. Other things in there that are often little good helps, tips, and tricks. I have all this stuff on my table. Some people, this is for those of you who are of legal drinking age, though you can, of course, have non-alcoholic things in a little flask. Now, pay attention to the rules and guidelines for a convention and do not violate them. Don't be that jerk. But if it's okay, it's someplace where, you might need a little bit of drink, but you don't want to drink communally. Like, there's always things I don't do. There's often in like hospitality suites where people are like, try my meat, try this thing, and everybody passes around. Like, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. Please keep your germs to yourself. Yes, I know it's alcohol, but just don't do that. So you can always, have a little bit something that you need and poured into here, even if it's just tea. That's handy. And of course, mentioned in the comments, I believe in the other video, of having a water bottle, having a hot tea or coffee container, right, for your own liquids, so you're also environmentally friendly. But having a little flask like that of something where you feel comfortable and it's safe and it's legal and all of the things, because I'm not asking you or telling you to do anything that I wouldn't do. Maybe. I don't know. You're an adult, hopefully. How did it happen? I don't know. But that might be something, so you can have that with you. Obviously, you're not going to be carrying this on a plane as well, full of stuff, right? So at least not in your person or carry-on. So be smart. Don't do dumb shit. And that is the true witchy thing. Be smart. Don't do dumb shit. Secret to witchcraft. All right, so that is about 5 things, right, to really elevate your experience. So kind of having some sort of travel altar, some transforming your space into a temporary temple for yourself, making sure, if you want to have a spray of some sort of blessing, to have your little electric candle, to have a deity if you are particular certain deities, or to create a little altar for yourself. Have a wonderful little queer squid. Yeah, it's been a week. Slug. Making sure you have a deck with you, and making sure that you also have a dedicated book. I know I've got so much shit on my desk. This is why you want to, don't stress out, but do plan accordingly. Like, a lot of this ends up going in my backpack, so it's a small little collection of things. I'm bringing one deck. I'm not going to bring all the decks. That's another thing. If you're like, I brought 20 decks. Now, unless there's a deck swap happening, right, just bring one, maybe two, if you're trying out a few different things. You don't have to bring all your decks. You don't have to bring your grimoire. You don't have to bring your ritual tools, unless you're leading a ritual, and those are important to that, right? But if you are just a participant, don't be like, I have to pack a chalice and an athame and a wand and a pentacle and whatever other stuff. I mean, you could totally do that, but you don't need the stuff, right? What I'm doing here are little touchstones that change the appearance and stand in for those things. So I don't need big tools. I don't need anything fancy. I'm just having these little moments that give me a place to ground and center. So those are kind of my key little witchy things that help to enhance your indoor witch or pagan experience. If you have any other thoughts or questions, put them in the comments below. And I hope you have a wonderful time at the next event. Bye.